Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into an absolutely fascinating piece of history. We're going to explore the rich history and incredibly diverse paths of Black members in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or the RCMP. We're going to look at how these individuals didn't just break professional barriers, they literally built vital bridges within their communities. It's a real story of resilience, deep dedication, and why representation absolutely matters. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Serving coast to coast. 2. Trailblazers and firsts. 3. Building community bridges. 4. Protecting global VIPs. And 5. Diverse paths to policing.
Section 1. Serving coast to coast. So, to really understand the impact of these officers, we first need to zoom out and look at the macro context. Between 1988 and the present day of our data, the RCMP made a really concerted push to attract a more diverse slice of Canadian society. And because of that effort, there are presently about 200 Black members serving from coast to coast. And as you'll see, these members bring just incredible geographic diversity to the table. They don't just hail from Canadian provinces like Quebec, Alberta, Ontario, and Nova Scotia. Recruits are also coming from international origins, places like Sheffield in England, the Caribbean island of Barbados, and the United States. This brings these entirely unique English and French-speaking backgrounds that, fundamentally enrich the RCMP's whole cultural fabric.
Section 2. Trailblazers and Historic First. Now, Corporal Clarence Bodden's story is truly remarkable. As a young boy growing up in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, he actually wanted to follow in his father's footsteps and go to sea. He even joined the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets at just 13 years old, eventually working his way all the way up to the rank of Chief Petty Officer. But then, in 1970, he pivoted. He applied and was accepted into the RCMP. And on October 14, 1970, he made absolute history by becoming the very first African Nova Scotian to join the force. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that Corporal Bodden's breakthrough was just the beginning. It kicked off several historic milestones. We've got Sergeant Ted Upshaw, who broke new ground becoming the first Black commissioned officer. Then there's Corporal Lori Seal Irving. She made history as the very first Black female in the Prime Minister's protective detail. And Constable Trevor Edwards, who became the first Black RCMP member to serve on Cape Breton Island. Each of these distinct firsts created this incredibly powerful narrative of progress within the ranks. Section 3. Building community bridges. Auxiliary Constable Miller actually vividly recalled his very first day on the job, and it's pretty funny. He said, "I thought people's heads were going to snap off as they looked on in amazement at Yarmouth's first Black RCMP member, auxiliary or regular. I love that because it perfectly highlights the profound, immediate impact of representation. The community was literally seeing something entirely new, a reflection of themselves actually wearing the uniform."
But it wasn't just about optics, right? That representation turned into deliberate, step-by-step community initiatives that directly enhanced the RCMP's ability to serve and protect. For instance, when tensions were running really high in North Preston, Sergeant Upshaw actually returned home to Cole Harbour specifically to step in and act as a mediator. And civilian member Barbara Ann Simmons, she completely dedicated her position to building bridges with North Preston, East Preston, and Sherrybrook. She even went a step further, implementing a youth at risk program called Chill Power, and she produced a local high school radio show for the youth. Talk about a grassroots impact.
Section 4. Protecting global VIPs.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because we see an incredibly vast spectrum of police work executed by these members. On one hand, you've got the real grit of grassroots undercover work. Auxiliary Constable Miller utilized this super unassuming demeanor to become a plausible customer to local bootleggers, which provided the force with a really unique tool for surveillance and raids. But then, on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, you have Constable Trevor Edwards out there managing high-stakes VIP security on a massive international scale. Just take a look at the VIPs protected by Constable Trevor Edwards. We're talking about President Nelson Mandela, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, U.S. Presidents George Bush and Bill Clinton, and President Vladimir Putin. It is a completely monumental list, and it really reflects the sheer caliber, the immense trust, and the gravity of the security assignments entrusted to these officers. Section 5. Diverse paths to policing.
So how exactly did these individuals even get to the RCMP? Well, the path to the force isn't just one straight line, and the details are actually deeply humanizing. Get this, at age 13, Constable Shirley Daverman joined the Navy Cadets. During his university years, Corporal Howard Adams was over there studying chemistry and biology, aiming to be a biologist. And Constable Kwabena Opong? He was actually envisioning a whole career as a dentist before he pivoted. He realized a career in the force would offer endless challenges and really satisfy his desire to help people.
So the crucial point is that these diverse backgrounds aren't just, interesting trivia. They are vital operational tools. The unique skills they brought with them, from Constable Daverman's fluency in French to Sergeant Upshaw's university background majoring in sociology, these things directly enhance effective policing. They bring completely different analytical frameworks, diverse communication skills, and varied life experiences to the table. And all of that fundamentally makes the force so much more adaptable and deeply culturally competent.
Which brings us to our final, concluding thought for today. How does a police force that truly mirrors the public it serves change the very nature of justice and community safety? The rich history of these Black RCMP members shows us that when the police actually reflects the community, they don't just enforce the law. They build lasting trust, they mediate these deep-rooted tensions, and they inspire an entire next generation to step up. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this leaves you with a renewed curiosity about the profound impact of diversity in law enforcement.